Okay, welcome to technically the first part of me originally setting up my reed frog cage, or tank, terrarium, whatever you want to call it. So this is technically the original setup of the second enclosure. They were in a small enclosure. I never recorded setting that up, but I followed the same process, which I also followed the same process when remaking the setup, redoing the setup in my second video, which depending on when these come out, you will have either already seen or will be coming out next week on the same day that this is being uploaded on. But yeah. So first of all, this video is like takes over multiple days because I don't have everything that I need. But here are some of the things that I already have. My expanded clay balls that I get from Amazon. They're the CZ brand. They're just clay pebbles. They're organic, so there's no additives or anything like that. Really cool. They're decently priced for how much you get, and that's just based on things that I've seen online. Because obviously I don't need a huge bag, but I also need like a teeny tiny bag. The next thing that I have is those little clamps right there. I don't know if I specifically talk about those later in the video, but I have the little clamps for the top of the cage. Obviously the tank itself, I bought a brand new 10-gallon tank, specifically because I wanted to make sure it could hold water. This is the mesh that I use. I will try to link all this stuff down below, as I have already done in my other video slash may have already will be doing the future video. Again, don't really know when this video is going to come out, but that's mesh. I cut it directly to size. It's particularly for like I think crocheting or something like that. Again, got it off Amazon. It's pretty cheap. For $6 you get like 6-8 pieces of it. And you only need 2 pieces to make enough for that aquarium, for a 10-gallon aquarium. So the next thing on our list is actually going to be Eco Earth. Now I chose Eco Earth for a multitude of reasons. The top 3: renewable, which means good for the earth, really good at holding humidity, and frog safe. And it was basically really easy to find. Now the compressed compartment was kind of difficult, but you can find it in regular huge bags at your local pet store. The next thing I want to specifically talk about, which we already talked about earlier in the video, is the clamps. Now I'm going to talk about my PVC clamps. Originally, I had a basic screen lid, so every time I needed to do feeding, I had to undo each of the 4 clamps to take off the top so I could throw a cricket in there. It became so annoying because once you really get them on there, you're supposed to bend them. In the back of the instructions, it says bend the clamps to get a tight fit. Once you do that, they're almost impossible to get off without using some type of tool to pry them. At least for me, I had to use my tweezers to pry them off, and then you gotta rebend them to put them back on. Like once they're on, they're great. Like your animal is not getting out, but to get them off was just the whole thing. So I ended up deciding to replace the screen with a different type of screen, which I'll talk about in another video because I didn't record any footage of that in either of the videos. But next on the list was obviously a plant. This was one of the plants I already had that I was actually having prepared for that aquarium. I went with fake plants because I know these frogs like to have big broad leaves. This is a big broad leaf, and I didn't have to worry about caring for it and forgetting that the plant exists and it dies for whatever reason. This ensures they always have a preferable place to hide. That they always have somewhere that'll do great cover and that will give them a nice broad leaf to rest and relax on. So I do end up getting another fake plant in the future, but for now I kind of just deal with this, and I don't even think I end up using this in the setup. Mind you, this was a couple of months ago, and this is I'm doing a voiceover to this just because like my audio was horrible. The next item on our list is going to be this half-cut wood log, which I actually never ended up using, and I still have it, I believe. I just literally don't know where I have it at. Originally, I was going to use it as kind of like this little barrier, and I was going to put it against, or pin it up against the glass and plant a plant in it. But then I realized that my tank wasn't high enough for that. Like, the plant wouldn't have much room to grow up. So I was like, it's kind of pointless. And also, I wasn't really loving the look of the wood. So I ended up just not using it. It came with the kit of the frogs that I originally put the frogs in temporarily where I was quarantining them and deciding how I want to set up their permanent enclosure. So I just never ended up using it. And it's not like I bought it to use it. It just came with the kit that I got. I got a little 3-gallon insect kit to keep them in. Reed frogs are very small, and they were very small when I got them. So that handled them perfectly. It was small enough quarters so I could keep their eye on them, make sure they were eating, make sure they had water and all of that, but was still keeping them with a nice amount of room. Okay, for our next portion of this video, I'm kind of walking you through my preparations. So from one sheet, I only had to cut like one of that little slither, and then another sheet pretty much just in half to have enough to cover the bottom of the 10-gallon tank for the substrate barrier, which was pretty good. So honestly, with a pack of 6 from Amazon that you get, they're made of plastic, so they won't like get destroyed over time. They theoretically can last. They're made from a very weird plastic. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it doesn't feel like plastic, but yet it's plastic. It kind of reminds me of silicone in a weird way, like a very hard silicone. But like a silicone and plastic had a baby. That's what it reminds me of. But you can kind of see like that right there is a half portion, and that is a full sheet minus a little slither, and they overlap a little bit. I made sure they have room to overlap. So, because if I cut them exact, there might be a little crevice or crack where dirt could just fall in. So I wanted to make sure that a little overlap happened to make sure that there was at least some given room, basically. So this is just me literally prepping because during this time I did not have everything that I needed, so I couldn't really just start setting it all up. So I had to do that later on in the video. So this is all just basic prep. So when the day came, it'll be easy setup. So to rinse the gravel, I used I think that's like a 1 gallon container from literally the dollar store. And I normally use it for my aquariums, but I used this device contraption because if you can see when it was up there close to the screen, it had little grits on it, like little grate or grids going on right there, like I'm showing you now. And that made it so I can dump water out without the clay balls just falling out into the drain or to the toilet or to the sink or wherever you're pouring the dirty water from, because these do need to be rinsed. They're very dusty, and you don't want all that dust inside your new setup. So I had to meticulously clean them, and depending on where you get the bag from, like depending on, I guess, when they set up the bag, whatever, when they package it, sometimes it can be a very dusty bag, sometimes it might not be as dusty. And I've ordered, I think, around 4 of these bags from this company, so I've had some experience. And showing you a mask, I wore a mask for this because it's kind of dusty. The most recent bag that I purchased is when I redid the enclosure for the third time, second time, whatever it was, which isn't in my other most recent video that, depending on when this comes out, has already came out or is going to be out next week. That was actually it wasn't really dusty, basically. Like, it was the least dusty bag out of all 4 that I've ordered. It was really easy to rinse. I think in total I had to rinse 3 times. Well, and before in these clips, it was up to, I want to say, and I was trying to show you that some of the dust was there, but you can't really see it on camera. But I think I had to rinse like 5, maybe 6 times to get it clear enough for me to feel comfortable with putting it in the tank. So it was a lot of rinsing, and you're gonna see some of that for how many times I came back to show you. So everything that you see inside the tank now was pre-rinsed material that I had already had from when I set up the smaller aquarium that the frogs were in at this point in time. Like I told you, I had them in a little quarantine setup, and I set it up exactly as I was setting this up, except I had way more materials because it was a smaller aquarium, and I kind of underestimated how many materials I would need for this. So I didn't have enough. I had enough to get it set up and kind of to work, and it did for a couple months. But with my new video, I kind of walked through some of the reasons that it kind of failed over the time. I didn't do it in grave detail. I kind of just pointed out big problems like this and this caused that and that, so we're going to fix this and that. That's kind of basically what I did. If you want a more in-depth analogy of what went wrong, I can give you that, but it was pretty straightforward and simple. But this is after 2 rinses. So this little clip right here was after 2 rinses. And the rinse that this is already in is the 3rd rinse. And it's actually getting pretty clear. Like, it still isn't as clear as I would prefer it to be. But that's after 2 rinses. So you can imagine that the new bag that I got only took, I believe, 2 rinses to get perfectly clear. And I think I did it for a 3rd time for good measure. This is after 4 rinses, and we're already on rinse number 5. So after I pour this out and shake it up a little bit, this will be rinse 5. So this is the water clarity after 4 rinses. Pretty clear. You can try to get it crystal clear. I didn't do that for the other ones. Again, this water isn't really going to be touched by anything. That's the whole purpose of getting it separated from your drainage layer, but you just don't want it super filthy. So I'm probably going to do 1 to max maybe 2 more rinses after this one, and then I'm going to call it done. So in this clip that you're seeing now, this is rinse 7. So yes, it took 7 rinses. I actually undercounted to get it that clear, which is pretty much, in my opinion, close to almost crystal clear. I mean, it's kind of foggy, but like, you would imagine how many more rinses I would probably have to do to get it crystal clear. So it was pretty, it's pretty clear. It was good enough to go in there. And yeah, like I said, this new bag at max, I think took 2, maybe 3 rinses. I'm pretty sure it was like 2. I think I did that 3rd one for good measure, but it only took that many. And the 2 beforehand didn't take that much. So I think this one was just like a bad, dusty batch, and that was a little consequence of it. So after rinsing all of the clay, the process is pretty straightforward. Whatever type of barrier separation that you have, or barrier stop, or whatever it's called, you just put that on top. I put these in the wrong way, I believe, so I had to turn them around eventually. But yeah, and then you put your substrate on top of that layer. So it goes drainage layer, which I use the clay organic balls. You can use gravel. You can use smaller rocks, which are gravel, or medium-sized rocks, whatever you want. I don't think you can use sand, to my knowledge, because I think it, for some reason, it compacts a lot. But you might be able to use sand. Like, you just need something that's not going to get rotted or stagnant or anything like that. That's going to get, not stagnant, but like, it's not going to rot, basically. And that's kind of like your only qualification. So like rocks and the hard clay material is some of the better options. You can see Sabrina really interested in what's going on. But yeah, then you just add the substrate of your choice, and that's basically just what I did after that. That's all I pretty much can do for now. Our soil is probably going to go up to about this height. I would say another inch to an inch, probably more like 1.5 inches. To maybe 2 inches top max of soil that's probably going to build up. My cat is trying to dig inside of the aquarium, as you can see from the glass side. She's not being very bright right now. Normally she is a little sweet bugger, but she's also chewing on my hand, so maybe she's just not wanting to be a sweet bugger today. But that's what's going on with here, and our plants and stuff. Yeah. The sirens, but this is the home they're in now. The lights are on. This is a little fish tank light, nothing special. I think when I set that up, I'm actually going to probably do UVB lighting. I'm going to try, but this is the same setup as, like, it's going to have the same basic materials. This is like I think a 1 inch. This is a 1 inch, roughly 1 inch water dish. Is 1 inch? Yeah, I think it's 1 inch water dish, just so they can get the little bodies in there. They're not really big frogs. You can see one of them back there on the side of the glass. That one always likes to be on the side of the glass. The other one lately has just been plotted up here. It has moved. But they just generally, this one loves to just dig in the moss. First it was under there, and then it was over here. I dug this up within like the first 2 days, because I was like, I only see one frog. Where is the other frog? I was scared that he got out, but it didn't. It just my sister pointed out, oh, it's in the moss. So this one really likes moss. That one likes to climb. I tried to use the tongs to kind of like dig it in there, but I have very little top vertical space right now, so it's kind of hard to navigate these long little tweezers in here without, you know, getting the right angle and everything. So I just ended up dropping it near them. I might be over panicking and I might be overfeeding. I talked to some individuals about them who've had reed frogs before. They said they never seen them eat, but they had them for a long time. So obviously they were eating because they weren't starving to death. So I feel like I'm just overreacting. They don't look skinny per se, like they're sickly or anything as in weight. So I think I'm overreacting. But I don't feed every day. I feed about every other day. Voiceover time. So in this portion of the video, the audio just got really kind of finicky and I was distracted by a lot of things going on at once. But I decided I would talk you through about what's basically going on. So at this point of the video slash the time of this recording, I actually went to Petco just to see if my local Petco had a screen or had restock and got screens. Luckily they did. So they had a 10-gallon screen, which is what I was waiting for. And I got it, grabbed it, clamped it. The clamps, figured out how to work those, did them perfectly. And yeah, that's what happened. So basically from this point on, I started to set up the tank. I actually didn't record any footage of me setting up the tank originally. I just have footage of the tank empty and then set up, and you're going to see that soon. Okay, so this is what the setup looks like after all of that pre-preparations. It's very underwhelming. I know, I get it. I thought the same thing after looking back at this footage. Mind you, this footage was recorded, I want to say it was recorded in March. I think that's what I want to say, like March or May, one of those 2 months. And it's now August. It's actually we're going into the second week of August now. So it's been a while. And throughout this evolution, I have redone this tank, or at least by redone, I mean set it up. That's one, I consider that one iteration of it, which is this iteration that you're seeing. And then I had redid it by adding more decorations and taking out some stuff. That's the second iteration, which I didn't have any recording of because it was just adding and taking away things. And then we did my third iteration, which I actually recorded, which was the most recent that happened at this point, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I recorded that. I recorded a lot more footage than I got for this. And all of that is already uploaded, or should be uploaded depending on when this video comes out. I think this video is going to come out the week I'm editing it. So it should be out in the second week of August. And then the second video, which is the redoing of this tank, that's what it's called, the redoing of whatever, that is uploaded. I actually recommend you watching that video if you want to see more in-depth things. I even have a cute little recording of the frog. But that was done, I mean, that should be uploaded on the 15th, which will be a Monday. So the 15th August, Monday, that day is when that was going to come out. But other than that, like, this is the setup. It's very underwhelming. I quickly redid it after that, but I just added decoration. I think it was like less than a month later. But yeah, that was everything. Thank you for watching.